performance. Are you happy now? Talking sports. 27 for 35, 281 yards, 2 touchdowns. Here's Rodgers postgame.
I'm proud of our guys. You know, we've been improving, but it hasn't been good enough for some people outside the room. So to have a performance like tonight, I don't know how many yards we finished with, but it feels really good. It's expectations. If the expectation is winning, then we're going to celebrate it, but we should expect to win. The next step is expecting to dominate.
Oh my God.
I loved it. What's wrong with
this? Was we were 19 yards away from this being the
one or the other.
That's your only saving grace. Wow.
And I mean, he had it.
He could have gotten it easy.
His worst throw of the night.
Exactly.
His worst throw. No, his worst throw of the night. But go ahead, say what you wanted to say.
Got, that would have been.
He was mediocre the first 2 weeks, and then you go up against the.
Yeah, no, the first 2 weeks.
First 2 weeks.
Yes,
mediocre.
he was mediocre. I agree with that. Mediocre. Yeah. But last night he was great. Let's not argue about the first 2 weeks.
Last night he was awesome.
Yeah.
Last night he was moving around. He was throwing the ball.
Yeah.
He was staring at the camera. He looked like classic Aaron Rodgers.
Yes.
So how dangerous are the Jets with this version of Aaron Rodgers?
I want to be fair because it wasn't just the numbers. It was also the eye test. He was out of the pocket.
Yeah.
He was moving around. And as I said after week 1, he's always going to throw a pretty ball, and he's always going to be super accurate. Yep. The question is, can he do the other things requisite to play football when there's a defense on the field? And last night he could. Now, everything that I saw yesterday is not clouded, but colored by the fact that I don't think the Patriots are good at anything. At anything. I think they have one great defensive player, Christian Gonzalez. I think that they are going to end the year an average defensive team and a wretched offensive team.
I knew this was coming. I did not watch this clip ahead of time, but I knew this was coming. We're gonna continue on with this clip, but I just want to point out real fast that Nick Wright has the Cowboys at the tippy top, at the top 6, top whatever, next to the 49ers. And because they beat the Browns, who are at the way bottom. Oh, isn't that cute? With the Browns. Beat the Browns. The Patriots are right next to the Browns. So the same level, according to Nick, the same type of team. Yet when the Cowboys beat the Browns, it was hallelujah. It was, oh my God, this was a huge win. This, that, and the third. Oh, they lost to the Saints. Who cares? That was a fluke game. But now when the Jets beat a team that's on the same tier, it's clouded. What am I supposed to do about that? I can't really make sense of it. Yeah, I knew that was coming. That's why I had this queued up, because I just knew it was gonna happen. So I just had to point that out. My hands are tied.
I thought that before the year. I, unlike some other people, was not mystified by week 1. I thought it was a fluky performance, and I think that this was the Jets' easiest game on their schedule, a game they absolutely had to win, and they did. So that part I don't give them extra credit for. I do give them extra credit for 2 specific things. One is, Brew, what we just talked about, how good Rodgers looked in the aggregate and on a play-to-play basis. And the other one was, if you guys remember, all offseason I criticized the Jets fairly for a lot of things. There was one thing I said that was an adult decision, and that was resisting the urge at drafting 10, they ended up drafting 11, taking Brock Bowers, who, by the way, has been awesome for the Raiders and is always advertised. They needed a tight end, another weapon, and instead drafting a tackle who you knew wouldn't even start if all things went well in Olu Fashanu. And what did we see last night? Of their 2 tackles, the one that's the sturdiest gets rolled up on because that happens, and you have a guy that you can plug in. Last night it wouldn't have mattered either way because it was late enough in the game, but it could matter moving forward. So I give them real credit, because had they not done that, yesterday could have been a Pyrrhic victory, like, okay, we get the win, but now our offensive line is in shambles. It's not. I still don't think they're a great team because I don't think Rodgers can play like that on a week-to-week basis.
Well, that's the question, because obviously he was fantastic. That was vintage Aaron Rodgers.
Yes.
Quick release, mobile, throwing it well when he was running, hitting guys in stride so they could run after the catch. Guys were great running after the catch last night. I mean, it was beautiful. But you're right. Like, if you look back at his last year in Green Bay, he had a couple of really nice games. I think, didn't they beat Dallas late? Like, he had a really...
That was yes.
Yeah, he had a few really nice kind of vintage Aaron Rodgers games, but you're right, he couldn't do it consistently. So that is the question for the Jets.
That Dallas game was the last time he went over 100 passer rating before last night.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So, yeah. So he's got to do it consistently. Unlike you, Nick, I did have respect. And you were right, it was a blowout. I didn't think it'd be a blowout. I thought the Jets would win. But I have respect, and I still do, for that defense. So I thought it was more impressive. They had given up, 130 yards rushing.
I know, but Bentley was the defense did not look like.
Yeah, but I think you got to give the Jets some credit for that they did. And then.
Okay. Well, so this is what I want to talk about, though. This is what I want to emphasize, because the question clearly says, how dangerous are Jets with this version of Aaron Rodgers? And what this version of Aaron Rodgers really had nothing to do with whether or not the defense was good or bad, quite frankly, because you could see what Aaron was doing, the ball placement, throwing on the run, his absolute perfect accuracy, his timing, his anticipation, him changing the plays at the line, him reading the defenses, like that really, all those things that he was doing that was great and that was vintage Aaron Rodgers, as they keep saying, really had nothing to do with the poor defense. When we talk about when a bad defense is, or when a good team takes advantage of a bad defense, you can see that it's like they're taking advantage of players who are just like wide open, missing tackles. You're able to run all day on them, and every time you hand the ball off, you get like 8, 9, 10 plus yards, right? Like that's not what was necessarily happening. So that's not what Aaron Rodgers was taking advantage of. I'm sure there was some of those moments to a degree, but not a lot, quite frankly. It was like his perfect placement. It was him having some time in the pocket, which again, I guess you could make the argument, well, the Patriots defensive line, their pass rush is really bad, which I'm not saying it is or it isn't, but like you could say that like then you could take advantage of that as well. But again, that's not what I saw Aaron doing within this game. Like any game will have a degree of that, right? No matter how good or bad your defense is, but the overall picture of this is that's not what Aaron was doing. Now, if you want to say the Jets as a whole, right? How good are the Jets? Did the Jets look as a whole last night? Then we can get into that question, because then we could say, well, they couldn't do anything offensively, and now that defense is exhausted, right? The time of possession was like pure domination. I mean, I think it was like, honestly, like what was like 4 or 5 minutes a quarter that the Patriots had the ball, like if that. So their defense had to just be gassed and just exhausted. And so that's gonna, affect things, and considering who their quarterback is and just what they got going on offensively, there's no real strong takeaways from the Jets defense. So considering what Nick said before, he was like, this is clouded, I actually agree with that to a degree. I pointed out why I think some of the stuff is not clouded, but in terms of evaluating the Jets as a whole, I do think it's clouded, and which is why I said similar things about other teams. That's why I point out, well, wait a second, why are you not clouded for the Dallas Cowboys then? That's why I use them as an example and a reference point, because I talk about multiple teams that I'm clouded about, like the Buccaneers, for instance, right? They beat the Commanders, and then they have a good game against the Lions, but both teams didn't really play that good. Like, so that's where I try to be as consistent as I possibly can in trying to offer this feeling of like, I don't know what to make sense of a win or a loss versus a team. I try to that is where I rely on the eye test more than anything, and not the stats, and just be like, who just looked better? Or if the team didn't win, is it because they were just not good enough, or were they just not playing good enough? They're different things, right? And that's why with this game right here, it was clear that the Jets were just a better team start to finish in every aspect of the game. And what you saw out of Aaron Rodgers more than anything, and there's a few things that I really want to say about Aaron that I disagree with Nick, but I understand the point, is you can see such a difference when you have a true, experienced, great veteran quarterback. The way Aaron not only throws the ball, because we could talk about that, throwing the ball is just pure perfection, quite frankly, but even outside of that, the way how he just controls the offense, he's clearly in control, right? When we talk about you need to have a grown-up in the room, like he is the definition of being the grown-up on the field. Like it is all Aaron. He knows every single thing that's going on there. He's not frazzled. He's not confused. He's not overwhelmed by anything. There's not a single thing that's overwhelming Aaron Rodgers. Doesn't mean that he's going to be successful every single play, but he's never overwhelmed. And we see, to this day, you could still see someone like a Patrick Mahomes be frazzled at times. And again, Patrick Mahomes is the best, right? That's not meant to knock Patrick Mahomes. I bring up Patrick Mahomes a lot because he's the gold standard right now. And he's still learning and growing as a quarterback, right? Like, I said this recently, Tom Brady said it wasn't until like 10 plus years until he finally saw everything that he believed that he was going to see defensively. So again, even Patrick Mahomes is probably still technically seeing things that he hasn't seen. It doesn't mean that Patrick Mahomes doesn't overcome those things, but it's just a different energy. Aaron at this point in his career has probably seen every single thing he's going to see, right? He is the wise, old, elite Hall of Fame veteran. Now, can his physicality match up with his experience, right? And what his mind can bring? That is the question. Now, he was absolutely mobile, he was absolutely dynamic, and he was doing awesome things, but it also did look like an older Aaron Rodgers. If you go back and watch highlights, ironically, I just saw them a couple days ago before this game. It just popped up on my, my feed, the algorithm, and I was watching it, and Aaron Rodgers, the way he's moving around, I mean, he literally looks like, he looks as agile as like a Kyler Murray or a Justin Fields practically. Obviously not all that extreme, but it's just you're just like, whoa, Aaron can move. And so, yeah, did he look like that? No, but he was as mobile as he needed to be, quite frankly. And here's the thing, though. Greg Cosell actually just talked about this, I think, on Colin Cowherd's show. And I'm so happy he emphasized this. And if you didn't catch it, he talked about how you can be a playmaker within the pocket. And you can move around and be mobile within the pocket. That everyone, and I've been saying this for months and months and months, really since the beginning of this channel, is that everyone is obsessed. I think that to make plays, you need to be able to get out of the pocket, run around, and make something happen. And that's just not the reality. You can be elite. You can be, even technically the word, dynamic, and work from within the pocket. Right? Like, you need to be able to move around the pocket. You can't be like a true statue, but you can do damage and be a playmaker. And actually what he did, Greg Cosell, he highlighted how CJ Stroud is making plays and being a playmaker from the pocket. So it's not always about escaping the pocket, and being flushed out and making a play that way. That jumps off the screen. That's fun and exciting. And sometimes when you make plays within the pocket, it looks like, oh, well, that's just what the defense gave them, or oh, that was just a good play call, or oh, that guy was just wide open. And you miss really the ball placement, the anticipation, the timing, the rhythm, like the other aspects that make that play unfold, that maybe when you're just watching it, you're just like, oh yeah, he just dropped back, went through his progressions and threw. And it's a little bit more complicated than that. And quite frankly, it's hard to put into words and explain, because it's something that is such a feeling and touch base with anticipation, and you can't always see the anticipation when you're just watching the film. Sometimes it's just like, oh, well, like, the guy was open and so he threw it to him, and it's like, it's a little bit more complicated than that. And so that's what Aaron can do too. Aaron doesn't have to just do what he did against the Patriots, where he was really escaping the pocket, running for first downs and stuff like that. I think it's beneficial and helpful, but there's this idea that he won't be a great quarterback with the Jets if he does anything less than that. And I just wanted to emphasize, I disagree with that, because of Aaron's ability to also just do whatever he wants within the pocket. I mean, he is just an unbelievable thrower of the ball. And again, his timing, his anticipation, him getting in rhythm right now is arguably second to no one, even at this old of age. I mean, he just throws such perfect balls. And again, and I know what Nick said, where he was just saying, listen, he'll always be able to throw that ball until he's like 56 years old. And it's a point well taken, like, because there is some truth to that. right? I mean, like, I'm not playing at a high level right now, but I have deer in my backyard that'll be like 100, 150 yards away, and I'll give them apples, and I can still launch it and like hit a deer in the head. I'm not even exaggerating. I'm not trying to brag, but it's like I love doing it because it's fun. I'm not trying to hit them, but I try to get it to bounce right in front of them, and there's usually a lot of deer, and I try to like get it over the other deer so the other deer can get it because they start fighting for it, and it's fun, and I can still do it. I mean, I still got great accuracy, and and I'm just like, all right, I still got it. Let's go. And so I get, what he's saying, obviously on a significantly lower level. We're talking about throwing apples in a backyard versus, footballs at the pro level. But there is truth to that. But again, it's more than just what Aaron brings. Aaron is just doesn't just have a good arm. It's also everything else that he can bring. Not to mention, it's also not always true because, Peyton Manning, and we could say it was because of injury as well and stuff like that, but Peyton Manning, like, lost it. He lost the ability, honestly, to like really throw the ball and to be as accurate and to push the ball down the field and just to kind of hit his spots. Like near the end of his career, like he really struggled with that. So I'm not going to say that all quarterbacks like automatically can do that. Sure, can he still maybe launch the ball, 70 yards down the field, if you get him in a, in a backyard, like I'm sure, but it just, there's just always going to be different levels to all of this, and Aaron still clearly has all of that aspect. The one thing is he obviously has lost mobility, but the thing that I'm really just trying to emphasize is that his success with the Jets is not predicated on him being able to be mobile or escape pressure in the way that we kind of saw him do against the Patriots. It of course helps you. You're of course going to be a better quarterback, right? Like you can do more, but it doesn't mean that you still can't be lethal, right? It's just that's what CJ Stroud has done a lot. That's what Kirk Cousins has done throughout his career, which I think Greg Cosell also highlighted on Thursday, I think it was. So I just wanted to really emphasize that. But yeah, if you're a Jets fan, this is definitely an exciting game. You do have to put it into context. It is the Patriots. They did beat the Patriots and the Titans. They lost, obviously, to the 49ers. Like, you do want to see them continue to beat these lower level teams. You want to see, again, how do they look against the Bills? How do they look against some of these significantly tougher teams with tougher quarterbacks that can really put pressure on you, tougher defenses? It's one of those things that the next thing that I'm looking for Aaron Rodgers and the Jets to be able to do is play great against a great team, right? They don't have to win. I don't need them to necessarily win. If they play the Bills and they end up losing, I'm not like, see, they're not good enough. At this point in the season, I just want to see them play great versus another great team. That's what I want to see. I want to see Aaron Rodgers, look really comfortable, still do all the things that I just kind of said before, and do it against a great team, a great defense with another quarterback who's not going 3 and out, who's not turning the ball over, giving you gifts, giving you easy field position. Like it's actually a complete game for both teams. Then you can start to get a better feeling of like who are the New York Jets this season. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think? How dangerous are the Jets with this version of Aaron Rodgers? And what do you think about just the Jets as a whole? Do you think this is a good sign for the Jets? Do you think not so much or too soon to tell? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.